ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Gary Parker.
Hey guys, how you doing?
So we're here in the kitchen with Gary Parker as a follow-up to the podcast we did yesterday. We talked about summer barbecue tips, and Gary, I'm going to have you give me a recap of our summer barbecue tips, and then we're going to talk about pulled pork.
Right.
So what are those tips we talked about yesterday?
Oh, doing it from memory. I did those ad lib. Okay, clean the pit, right? Have a cook plan, right? Some of these things take longer than others. You got to know what you're doing. Know how to build a fire. Build a fire than you need, right? The 3 steps of cooking good barbecue, right? Which was flavor, color, and texture, right? As a matter of fact, we're going to talk to you a little bit about today, because if you remember at the end of the podcast, or if you go out and watch the podcast, what we ended the session with was talking about how to make pulled pork. I always like taking people to pulled pork because it's the easiest. When we do our training, our barbecue training, I start everybody out with pork shoulders and pulled pork because they're very forgiving, they're easy, and it's very easy to see the 3 stages, in action. That way later, once you kind of get the feel for how all this works, then we can go over here and get back to briskets, and I can show you how to do 2 different types of meat at once, right? But let's just stick to pulled pork today. So I said yesterday that I would follow up, kind of show you what the pulled pork process is, show you some tips and tricks for that. And so that's what I'm going to do today, and we're going to in the next few minutes. So this is a package of pork shoulder, just like you get it at Sam's or Costco or anybody like that. They usually come with two shoulders, and this is the shoulder right above the front leg. That's what these are, and this is what they look like when they come.
So that is raw pig.
That is right off the pig, right?
How many raw pigs like that do you get a day when you cook up for barbecue season?
We do. I don't know. I cook a bunch. We keep tracking. We do this every single day, because we run out of pulled pork almost every single day, and we make as much as we possibly can. So, but anyway, the point I was trying to make is a lot of times when you're watching on the food channels and those kind of things, they have they put all kinds of seasoning and they do all kinds of injection. But the one thing I wanted to talk to you about is they have you take this big mass of meat. And by the way, this is called bone out. They've already filleted the bone out of it. So many of them, like the Sam's ones, will have the bone left in. But they want you to take this big, thick piece of meat, and they want you to put it on your cooker, right? All at once, right? Yeah, and then they kind of treat the conversation like you would a brisket. Now brisket's different, right? I mean, but stop and think for a minute, right? You're trying to make pulled pork, and you're trying to do it out on your barbecue pits, right? What's your goal? Your goal is to get smoke flavor into the meat, right? So if you're going to do that,
expose more of it.
Why don't you expose more of it?
Yeah.
Okay. This way because when you put these big roasts on, those outsides, they'll caramelize, they'll crispen up, and people like those crispies. That's good. But the problem is these outsides burn a lot. Right? If you can't manage, or if your equipment is not set right, or there's a lot of things that can go wrong with it, right? So they'll burn up where the inside will still be barely done, right? Plus smoke won't penetrate through a 3-inch piece of meat, right? So what I like to tell people to do is, or what I show them to do, is we take these shoulders and we basically cut them up in
big ass knives. What do you do?
Take a really big knife. I like going right down the center of this, like this.
Wow.
All right, and we just kind of take it into 2 pieces.
I don't think I'm old enough to have a knife that sharp in my kitchen.
And then, it doesn't take much, but, I mean, you can just make some nice big hunks, like this, right? Now, what you've just done, when we cut all these up like this.
Probably not too small, though.
No, not too small, right? Okay. But the thing about it is, it's going to do the process really fast, right? Because you can see how pretty that is. The pores are open, just like we talk about with the, with the brisket, right? It's going to absorb smoke, right? And it's going to come up to temp pretty quick, right? And start to break down. So we do that, and then
the temperature's going to rise quickly, and it'll start to break
that's
down
right.
the meat.
And again, the reason why you want to do that is because you've just quadrupled the surface area of that thing. So you're going to get a lot more smoke. You're going to get a lot more penetration, and you're going to cook about twice as fast.
Open?
Huh?
Are the pores
the
open?
pores are open. You can see.
That applies to pork as well as brisket?
All meats are that way, right? Because you're just cutting the fibers in half, right?
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, so what I want to do now, because I have to take these off for a second, because I just touched raw meat. This is the intermediary stage, okay? And I'm going to ask you to hand me a glove over here, because I need to have another glove. I'm sorry, I should have thought about this in advance. There we go. Because I just want to show you guys what it's like. So this is after we've been on the pit. We've been on the pit for about 3-4 hours, right? We had a nice good fire burning, just like we talked about in the tips. And notice the color. These porks, you know, they've turned into a real nice amber color, right? That smoked all the way through on both sides, right? But notice it's really hard. It's really rubbery.
Kind of gross.
Okay.
Not something you'd want to
So this has been flavored, right? But we haven't textured it yet. So the next step, after we get through, you know, making the pork look like that, we then put it into pans. You can wrap it, you know, any way you want, but I like using these pans, right? And we cover it with foil and we go into an oven, right? You can use your pit. The pit's great too. I do that all the time with my big trailer pits. Here in the restaurant, we just go back and forth between the ovens, right? And this set in the until we know it goes soft, okay? And now when it goes soft, you'll know that it's done because all you got to do is just make your pulled pork.
Okay, so we've gone from raw pork to pork that's overdone and rubbery here.
Not overdone. It's been flavored.
It's been flavored.
Flavored and colored.
And colored.
Okay.
By the smoke.
Right. And
but
then
this is pork that's actually ready to use.
Right. So we call it, you know, we go into rendering, and then this is the way it comes out, right? So nice and easy.
Your point is not that that's cooked incorrectly. It's just that that's not at the stage of taking it off.
That's right. That's an intermediary step.
I think that's a good point to clarify.
Mm-hmm.
So we have your wife on here saying happy 37th anniversary.
Hey, happy anniversary, Cindy.
And we have Lance Kirkman. And
yeah. Hey, Lance.
There's randomly 11 other people. Hey, 11 other people, tell us who you are. Do you guys have any questions? We want to hear from you.
Now tell me that won't make a great sandwich.
That looks pretty yummy.
Right?
And do you sauce it up, or do you just put that on the sandwich like that?
We let people do it the way they want to do it. And the reason we do that, that's a good point, because some people ask, right? So you have the folks from the Carolinas, right?
A lot of stuff you buy in the grocery stores has sauce on it already.
That's right. But I don't need sauce because, matter of fact, if you look at this red, that's right here, that smoke went all the way through that piece.
Right.
Okay? It's not sitting up here with a smoke ring and a big white center like you'll get on pork a lot, right?
Yeah.
That smoke's been all the way through. That's a ton of flavor in that right there.
So you don't want to waste that, and you don't need to cover it up with sauce.
You don't need to cover it up with sauce. Now, some people like the sauce. Some people like making Carolina style. They put their you know, they'll get their coleslaw and put on there. Other people like it different ways, right? Some people mix it with beef. It's amazing how many different variations people have for how they eat pulled pork, right? But as you can see, this pork. And too bad we don't have smell-o-vision, right? Because you can smell how beautiful this stuff smells.
Really good.
I mean, you immediately feel hungry. Yep. So there we go. We took a few pieces. It didn't take very long. We pulled it. That stuff is ready to go. It's moist. It's perfect. And we did it in half the time because we followed these processes.
How many sandwiches is that?
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's about 15 sandwiches, I guess, in this little bucket.
So how many pounds of meat am I buying if I'm serving 20 people?
The minimum you can buy is one bag with 2 shoulders in it, right? And you might get a single shoulder if you go over to the grocery store, right? But yeah, a little pan like that. One of those shoulders will make one of these pans, basically.
Okay.
Right? Under that process.
And how much time did that just take me to cook?
Again, to go from raw to this stage is about 3 hours. Right, and then when we put it over to the ovens, we usually go about 2.5 to 3 hours on rendering it out or texturing it.
So you've cleaned your pit.
Yep.
You have made your cook plan, which means getting up in the really early morning and having your meat ready to go.
Right.
You've got it on the grill. You keep your heat consistent. If you're looking, you're not cooking.
Right.
Which I think is a great little saying to remember. What else? What are your other tips you talked about yesterday? Smoke.
Yeah.
Keep your smoke
build a big fire, right? Build a fire bigger than what you needed, right?
Yeah.
Make sure that fire comes up to temp, and then let it burn back down to where you need it, right?
So that to me is the time factor, because who has time to get your fire over hot and then let it cool down and all that?
But that's what you do.
How many hours is that?
Well, it doesn't take that long. Okay. You know, I mean, you know, like when we do the live with the trailer pit that we're talking about doing, I'll show all those stuff about how to go in there and create that fire, you know, and then while that's coming up, we're going to talk about what the pit does. You'll see the sweat on the pit and stuff like that as it comes up to temp, right? These are all things when you don't want to put meat on there, right? You want to get that thing operational, get that thin translucent smoke, then go put your meat on.
Yeah.
Right?
And how did you spice this meat?
We didn't. There's no spice. You're seeing it the way we do it. The only flavoring in this meat is the flavor of the wood. Okay.
And is there anything I can do if you overcook it and it's dry, or you just stuck?
Then you just did it wrong, in my opinion, right?
You
know, but that's one of the reasons why people do a lot of injection. You know, they do it for flavor because they'll inject you know, the apple juices and so on. They'll put a lot of paprikas and spice on it. You know, cayennes. You know, to get, because when they're intentionally making those outside crunchies like that, right? They're really trying to put a lot of flavor, a lot of pop in that, right? I don't like to do that, right? I believe in just meat and smoke, and so that's the reason we do it this way. Right?
So I want to talk about safety for a minute, because I know that you hear a lot about not combining meats and things like that for safety. So if I, realistically, a large family, somebody just did pulled pork now, somebody else is coming up to do hamburgers or beef or brisket or whatever, can I put that on the same grill, or do you have to clean your grill?
Just, you know, clean your grill off.
What about fish?
You know, no. I don't do a lot of fish, but what I do is I keep grills separate for fish as I do pork and beef. I just do it, and the reason I do it is because as a licensed restaurant, you know, there's too many fish allergies out there, so I never want to introduce it. Like, this restaurant has never had a piece of fish in it. Period.
So pork, beef, fish, you do on separate grills?
Yeah, no, pork and beef, I'll do them all on the same grill. I don't have a problem with it. Those grills, you know, those actual metal grills that we have in here, I mean, they're running 300 degrees in there a lot of times, so there's not anything that's going to really be a problem between those two. But I won't put a fish oil in here.
So you cleaned it off for today, and you did this load of pork. Are you cleaning it off again next Saturday?
We clean it we clean it with every run. I mean, I clean this pit every day.
You're supposed to let all that stuff stack up on there for flavor.
Never. I mean, that's a myth, right?
That is such a myth.
That is such a myth, right? And I think it's just a bunch of guys that had too much coffee and stuff and didn't want to have to clean the pit,
or too much beer and didn't want to
clean the pit. So they came up with a rumor about doing that. Now, I mean, there is a thing, just like in cast iron skillets, right, where you want them cured, right, so that they do that. That's not a big buildup of wood smoke all over your smoker, right? We keep it clean. So we clean this. Well, like I said, we clean this pit every day, right? And at a minimum clean every 6 months, we do a deep clean on it. And that's kind of interesting. We pull this pit out and then we completely disassemble it in this kitchen, and we clean it all up, and then we put it all back together and put it back underneath the hood. We do that every 6 months here.
Wow.
Right, and that gets rid of all that creosote and all that stuff that comes out of those wood fires.
Right. So we have Pamela Wilgers. DeWitt.
Hi, Pammy. Yep.
Michael Mills, Janice.
Yeah. Mike Mills. Yeah, he's a great guy too. Well, someday we got to have Mike Mills come in here and talk with us.
Mike is disappointed that the smell-o-vision is not working.
Yeah.
So somebody needs to invent smell-o-vision, please.
I hear you.
We need it for this.
Smell live. Go live.
Smell go live. Well, thanks, Gary. Is there anything else you want to tell us about pulled pork?
Not today. I just wanted to show you as you get ready to do your summer pulls. Think about some of these techniques, right? You know, speed up your time. You know, make a better flavor. You know, keep it moist. Manage your fire. Keep your pits clean, right? And you're gonna have a great time. Happy summer, everybody. I'll see you on the next run.